Hello, everybody, and happy Mother's Day to everybody. Hope everybody had a wonderful, happy, joyful Mother's Day weekend. I want to provide a quick recap of session one of our parish series, Visioning the Lay Apostolate of Tomorrow, in case someone was not able to join us and was interested in what was discussed, or if anybody would like a quick recap before we enter into session two. So quickly, number one, we talked about evangelization. What does it mean in May of 2020? We talked about how we're all called by virtue of the Great Commission of Jesus Christ to go and make disciples of all nations, how we're all called to be in the disciple-making business, and how that's inherent not only in the lives of all the faithful, but inherent in the mission of any parish, including St. Thomas of Villanova. We also talked about how the bishops gave us three concrete goals for evangelization in May of 2020, and we talked about what that might mean. Second, we talked about how we are all called by virtue of our baptism to be priests, prophets, and kings that complement one another. So we talked about the difference between the ministerial priesthood of ordained ministry and the priesthood of all the faithful, how we're all called to share our time, talents, and treasures to be priests, prophets, and kings. We're priests anytime we're alive in the world and consecrating the world to itself through our holy lives and our holy actions and our public worship. We talked about how we are all prophets anytime we describe the better way that God is, the vision that God has for the world, anytime we're calling out injustices and pointing the path towards a better way, and anytime that we're pointing out the very presence of Christ in our midst. And lastly, we share in the royal function of Christ anytime that we're uniting together to work against injustices, to correct wrongs, and to create a more just society and world around us. Then we talked about how the Second Vatican Council envisioned a church that was very close to the people, close to the social lives and the cultures of the people it was trying to reach. And we talked about how that is the heart of evangelization and ministry, and how the laity are uniquely positioned in this regard by virtue of their presence in the workplace, in school, in civic institutions, in the culture of the world around us, and family life, and how the laity, in a sense, enjoy a unique level of proximity to be priests, prophets, and kings in that vocation. And then we talked about some new boundaries that right here in May of 2020, we still have to cross cultural, psychological, and spiritual boundaries in the world around us in evangelization. We're still called to navigate uncertain areas as we find new and creative ways to announce the good news of Jesus Christ to the people around us. And we also talked about the role that gender has a play in that as well. And then lastly, we talked about how all this fits into four key areas of mission that are specifically called out in the St. Thomas of Villanova mission statement. How does all this impact the way that St. Thomas of Villanova, right here in May of 2020, does education, evangelization, worship, and social justice? And last but not least, we talked about all this in the context of leadership, how by virtue of our baptism, by virtue of the fact that we're all called to be priests, prophets, and kings, we're all called to leadership in some way. Because leadership, in essence, is influence with or without titles. And so we're all called to leadership wherever we find ourselves in bringing forth the mission of the church, bringing forth the mission that Jesus Christ gave us, and of being disciples in the disciple-making business. And I'm happy to say that all of this ended with a very fruitful discussion about some ways that St. Thomas of Villanova may be able to reach the next group that it might be called to reach, the next population of people, and ways that we can work together to find a way to go out and announce the gospel, to announce the wonderful works that we're doing here at St. Thomas of Villanova to new people. It was a really enriching and insightful and inspirational discussion. So we hope you join us May 14th at 7 p.m., where we're going to take all this and build off of it to talk specifically how the laity are called to prayer and worship, how the laity are called to leadership roles in public prayer and worship, not just at Mass, but also outside of Mass, and the many ways that that too will contribute to the disciple-making business that we discussed in the first session. So hope to see you there. If you would like a full presentation of all the content that was presented, you can visit our website, layleadership.wordpress.com. It's right there for you. And also find out ways to participate in the next session. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas, or would like just a direct way to get involved in the discussion, just email me, jeremyhires@yahoo.com. Looking forward to hearing from you and hope to see you on Thursday. God bless.